He used to call me his hero, the man he wanted to become. But when I needed him the most, he chose to stand with the people who tried to destroy me. He used to sit across from me in the old garage I turned into my office, legs dangling off the workbench, watching me fix busted computers, solder broken wires, or redesign hardware like it was an art. He'd ask questions faster than I could answer. How did you learn this? Why does this chip matter? Will you teach me? I never said no. I taught him everything I knew. He was my nephew, Jordan, my late sister's only child. And after she died in a car crash when he was 9, I became more than an uncle. I became his guardian, his mentor, his lifeline. For years, he called me his hero. He said I was the man he wanted to be. He'd write me birthday cards that said, "Thank you for saving my life." And I believed him. Even when he stumbled through adolescence, skipping classes, flirting with petty crime, I stood by him. I never gave up on him. Not when the school called me in again and again. Not when his probation officer rolled her eyes at me for defending him. I believed in Jordan, even when he didn't believe in himself. I thought love could fix things, that loyalty could save someone. But I was wrong. When I opened my cybersecurity firm, Aegis Intel, Jordan was 21 and floating between warehouse jobs. I brought him in, gave him a desk, a laptop, and a role, junior analyst. Everyone on my team knew why he was there. Some of them resented it. But I told them, family is family. He'll earn it. And to his credit, for a while, he did. He showed up early, stayed late, shadowed me like a hawk. Within a year, he could read server logs like novels and trace suspicious IP addresses faster than most rookies I'd hired. He was learning. He was thriving. And then came the contract, the one that changed everything. Aegis Intel was hired to perform a forensic audit on an old investment firm, Trenvale Partners. They were facing allegations of money laundering and insider trading. But the deeper we dug, the uglier it got. The files we unearthed linked Trenvale's senior partners to a web of dark money, political bribes, and shell companies used to launder funds internationally. I knew if we submitted this report as it was, people would go to prison. Big people. Powerful people. And I wasn't wrong. 3 weeks after our final report hit federal hands, the indictments dropped like dominoes. 6 C-suite executives were arrested. 2 senators were named in sealed affidavits. The news ran the story for weeks. Overnight, Aegis Intel went from up and coming to dangerous. Clients were wary. Some dropped us. Others whispered behind our backs. But I didn't care. We told the truth. We did our job. We exposed rot. And that made me a target. One morning, I walked into my office and found 3 laptops had been wiped remotely. Secure servers had been accessed using someone's internal credentials. When I checked the logs, my stomach dropped. It was Jordan's login. I didn't want to believe it. Not him. Not the boy I raised. Not the one who called me his hero. I confronted him in the break room. He barely looked surprised. Just shrugged and said, "They offered me more than you ever did." Those words shattered something in me I didn't know could still break. He told me the partners at Trenvale, the ones under investigation, had reached out through back channels. Promised him a job at a firm called Arkstone Capital. Twice the salary. Signing bonus, stock options. All he had to do was hand over a list of our confidential clients and clear a few internal hard drives. He didn't even flinch when he said it. And then he said the line that still haunts me. "You brought me into your world, but you never taught me how to win in it." I fired him on the spot, revoked his access, filed an internal breach report, and updated federal investigators. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. 3 days later, the story flipped. I woke up to dozens of missed calls and texts. Jordan had gone to the press, claimed I'd coerced him into helping me falsify parts of the Trenvale report, that I'd made him erase evidence to frame innocent men. His story spread fast. News outlets ran with it. Whistleblower analyst exposes corruption inside cybersecurity firm. My name was plastered across headlines. Investigators came knocking. Clients froze contracts. Within a month, Aegis Intel was bleeding out. I tried to fight back, showed my logs, the timestamps, the proof that he deleted files after the report had been submitted. But it didn't matter. The narrative was out there. And Jordan? He was now Arkstone Capital's rising star, sitting on tech panels, giving interviews about ethics in cybersecurity. He chose them. The people who tried to destroy me. And he did it for money, status, maybe even spite. The betrayal was complete. But I wasn't done. I retreated, not in defeat, but in strategy. While the world talked about my fall from grace, I quietly incorporated a new shell company under a pseudonym. I sold off what remained of Aegis Intel's tools, software, and forensic systems, piece by piece, to the highest bidder. But I held back the core engine, the AI-driven anomaly tracker we'd built for the Trenville case. It had gone dormant during the investigation. But I knew how to wake it. Because I had built it. And I knew exactly where to point it now. Arkstone Capital. If Jordan wanted to play in their world, he would do so under my surveillance. I moved into the shadows, recruited a new team, built out surveillance nodes, back-end monitors, and trackers across the financial ecosystem. Every email, every wire transfer, every digital whisper, I collected it, fed it into my engine, built patterns. And within months, I started to see it. Arkstone wasn't clean. Not by a long shot. They were repackaging toxic securities, using burner shell companies to backdoor donations to political campaigns, including the very officials who'd helped kill my firm. And Jordan? He was neck deep in it, signing off on audits, laundering evidence through cyber risk assessments, and giving keynotes about transparency. I could have exposed him right then. Sent everything to the SEC, the FBI, even the press. But that would have been justice. And I wasn't after justice anymore. I wanted ruin. You see, revenge, real revenge, isn't about rage. It's about precision. You don't just knock down your enemies. You strip them bare, piece by piece, until they look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. And that's what I intended to do to Jordan. The first thing I did was make him feel untouchable. I let him rise. I watched him climb the ranks at Arkstone, becoming their youngest executive director at 27. He gave interviews on major networks, sat on tech roundtables with senators, and even got nominated for some phony cyber ethics award. He was the poster child for the very system he helped dismantle. And I clapped from the shadows. Gave him the illusion of invincibility. Meanwhile, my engine kept watching. See, Arkstone was greedy, but stupid. They thought hiding money through offshore shell core and routing it through ghost nonprofits was smart. But my software, which I quietly branded as Paladin, could trace digital fingerprints they didn't even know they were leaving. Tiny metadata trails. Misaligned timestamps. Recycled IP tokens. Over time, a pattern emerged. One central to it all. A fund Jordan had created at Arkstone, supposedly a scholarship trust for underrepresented youth in tech, was actually just a laundering pipeline. Millions flowed through it every quarter. None of it ever reached a single student. That was the first thread. The second was personal. Late one night, I found an old archive, emails Jordan had backed up to a hidden cloud drive and forgotten about. Maybe he thought I'd deleted the account. But I didn't. I had the encryption keys. In that archive were conversations between him and Diane, my former CTO, the one I had once dated before she suddenly quit Aegis Intel during the chaos. Turns out, she'd been helping him from the start. She'd fed him the access codes, helped him time the server wipe, even helped spin the corruption narrative that destroyed me. The two of them weren't just partners, they were lovers. And she was now Arkstone's chief data officer. I felt something burn in my chest that night. Not anger. Not pain. Resolve. I wouldn't just bring down Jordan. I'd bring down the entire empire he helped build. So I started making moves. I took my Paladin software and quietly sold access, not ownership. A few trusted investigative reporters, whistleblower orgs, and forensic accountants, people with no idea who I was, began receiving anonymous data drops. Each one pointed to shady transactions linked to Arkstone. Then I created a leak site, a simple onion directory on the dark web, branded with a burning chess piece. Every week, a new set of documents appeared. Fake LLC registrations, email threads, wire logs, internal chat transcripts. But the masterpiece, the final piece of bait, was a leaked confession, forged but believable, written in Jordan's tone, citing guilt over his actions and regret about framing his uncle. It hinted that Arkstone had threatened his life to stay silent. Within hours, it went viral. People started to dig. Journalists began connecting the dots. Former Aegis clients who had ghosted me, they suddenly reached out, not to apologize, but because they were afraid they'd be next. And then, right on cue, came the investigation. The SEC launched a quiet probe into Arkstone's financials. Jordan's team scrambled, but the digital trails I had planted, the intentional metadata errors in their audit files, the leaked messages from anonymous insiders, all led them into deeper traps. They turned on each other. Diane was the first to lawyer up. She claimed Jordan had manipulated her, said he forged the nonprofit fund's documents, claimed she was unaware of the laundering. And Arkstone? They threw them both to the wolves. Jordan was suspended pending investigation. And the media, once obsessed with his rise, now tore him apart like hyenas. But I wasn't done. I bought a front row seat to his collapse. Literally. I booked a table at the same cybersecurity gala where he was supposed to receive his Ethics in Tech award. They hadn't pulled his name from the roster yet. When I walked in, heads turned. Some people blinked in disbelief. Others whispered. I didn't care. I found my seat, ordered a drink, and waited. When Jordan walked in, thinner, stressed, his eyes darting like a man on the edge, our eyes locked. And he froze. The color drained from his face. I raised my glass and smiled. He turned and left the gala before they even called his name. 2 days later, he was arrested. Charges: wire fraud, conspiracy, falsifying federal audit reports, and obstruction of justice. Diane cut a deal and turned state's witness. Arkstone's stock plummeted. Partners resigned. Clients fled. And I incorporated Paladin Analytics as a new cybersecurity venture, entirely separate from my old brand. Quiet, clean, lethal. I didn't need press, or credit, or applause. But something strange happened. One day, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. I was wrong. I thought standing with them would make me powerful. But I only became a shadow of the man I wanted to be. I wanted to become you. And instead, I destroyed you. I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed to say it. Jordan. No apology could ever fix what he broke. But I didn't hate him anymore. He chose his side. And I chose mine. Jordan's letter sat on my desk for 2 weeks. I didn't reply. Didn't burn it. Didn't file it away either. I just stared at it from time to time, like a message in a bottle that had washed up too late, after the storm had already wrecked the shore. He was finally facing the consequences. And the irony? He was being torn down by the same system he thought would protect him. The same system that used him to destroy me. And me? I was rebuilding, not out in the open, but underground. Quiet. Strategic. Paladin Analytics wasn't flashy. No press releases. No award ceremonies. Just results. Word spread fast in the right circles. Those who needed digital protection from internal threats, whistleblowers afraid to go public, legal teams trying to expose corporate fraud. I wasn't just back. I was untouchable. One morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I wouldn't have answered, but something made me pick up. Mr. Reeves? The voice said. It was a federal investigator, one of the same people who had interrogated me months ago when Jordan flipped the narrative. Only this time, his tone was different. I just wanted you to know, he said. Your name's been officially cleared. The case against you is being dismissed. All charges dropped. We know you were set up. I thanked him, hung up, sat there in silence. Cleared. Vindicated. But it didn't feel like victory. Because what Jordan destroyed was never just my reputation, it was trust. The kind you can't just rebuild with apologies and drop charges. I decided to disappear for a while. I booked a cabin upstate. No signal. Just trees, snow, and quiet. I needed time, not just to heal, but to decide who I wanted to be now that the revenge was complete. That's when the twist hit me. Because revenge, I realized, isn't the end of the story. It just opens the door to what comes next. 2 months later, I received a package. No name. No return address. Inside was a USB drive and a small, handwritten note. If you're reading this, it means I finally saw them for what they were. You were right. You always were. I found something. It's bigger than Arkstone. Bigger than Trenvale. It's still happening. And I think I'm being followed. J. I locked my cabin that night. Plugged the drive into an air-gapped machine. What I found inside changed everything. Hundreds of files, encrypted dumps from internal Arkstone meetings, offshore payments, private communications with something called the Legacy Group. It wasn't just Arkstone. This was a network, a conglomerate of shell corporations, private equity funds, even a few political figures laundering billions through investment firms disguised as charities. And Jordan. Somehow, he turned again. Not for money. Not for leverage. But maybe, just maybe, for redemption. I ran facial recognition logs. Checked metadata. Pulled surveillance from systems he probably didn't know I still had access to. He was scared. He was being watched. And then, silence. No more letters. No more packages. Just gone. For months. Until the news broke. Man found dead in upstate motel. Suicide suspected, but investigation ongoing. It was him. Jordan. Dead at 29. They called it suicide. But the files he left me, the ones I now held, told a different story. He had crossed the wrong people. And they made sure he disappeared. That's when I made my choice. No more shadows. No more hiding. If they thought I'd stop at Jordan, they misunderstood everything about me. He used to call me his hero. Now I'd become their nightmare. I built a new version of Paladin. This time, not just for defense. This version would hunt. It would track down every piece of the network Jordan had uncovered. Every private ledger. Every backdoor deal. Every person who thought they were too powerful to be exposed. I started with one. A senator tied to both Arkstone and Trenvale. His name was all over the leaked files. I didn't leak it to the press. I leaked it to his donors. Then I took down a CEO. Then a judge. Then a lobbyist. Each one fell like a domino. And each time, I sent a single, handwritten note. He used to call me his hero. I never told anyone the full story. Most people think I just rebuilt my life after the scandal. But the truth is, I never rebuilt it. I weaponized it. Jordan betrayed me, yes. And he helped destroy my world. But in the end, maybe he gave me something even more powerful. A reason to never stop fighting. A reason to become more than just someone's hero. A reason to become the reckoning they never saw coming.